Because the first time I saw you in our church,
okay,
we made that gaze, that connection.
No, I made that.
Oh, I looked longer. By the time you looked away, I actually said, that was probably inappropriate. She is most likely married. Leaning over the back of a chair, talking to a neighbor behind me, and we locked eyes, and I couldn't break away.
So I think that part of the LDS religion, one of the reasons why my dad was so in love with the LDS religion and then the AUB religion, is because of that king idealism and because of how like a father should be and how a father's supposed to be. And I think that's like what his older daughters grew up with and were raised with.
Hi friends, it's Kody from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Friday, December 20th, 2024, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Kody Brown and Robyn Brown's relationship and how it started has always been sister wives lore. And when we talk about polygamy and we talk about how relationships start in this world, they have made a lot of claims on the show about how men will approach women, women will approach men, and how the relationships begin. Now, there are rules, by the way, on how relationships are supposed to go. And they are not supposed to go the way that Kody and Robyn went. In fact, going the route that they went is outside the rules. It is not allowed. And finally, Kody Brown made a comment about how the relationship was inappropriate. Now, Kody and Tony are not my favorite as far as their take on the show. It is very clear that Tony is very misogynistic. He also clearly has a lot of issues with his mother-in-law, Christine, and he favors heavily Robyn, even though there is a fractured relationship with Robyn. And even though they barely speak to Kody, they still take Kody's side in a lot of situations. And Kody continues to claim falsely that Mary cheated on her father. Not a single person in the family ever made that claim other than Kody. Christine never said that. Janelle never said that. No one said that. It was an emotional relationship. But yes, would she have left? Sure. But Kody loves to use that as a weapon. And when they watch Mary's scenes, they become very irritated and they take Kody's side in all of it. They even say as far as that Kody didn't cheat on Mary because they were involved in a consensual polygamous relationship, which completely discounts the fact that there is no such thing as consent when it comes to coercion and hell and damnation being your choice or being forced to share your husband, along with being groomed your whole life to believe this is your only way into heaven. Kody and Robyn in the most recent episode shared how they made eyes, locked eyes, and how this was inappropriate because Kody was looking at her a little bit too much and she was looking at him too much. And in the world of the AUB, this would have been inappropriate because he had a wife and she was single. And so they shouldn't have been doing that. Now, I don't believe that they're being honest about to the extent that what this relationship was before anyone else was clued in. Most members of the Brown family will now admit that the Apostolic United Brethren was a cult. And a benchmark of a high control group is when a group will decide who you can date, how you can go about dating, who you can marry, how you can go about getting married, your activities, your music, where you can socialize, who you can speak to, what you can wear, what you can listen to, how you're supposed to act. There is a lot of high control in the group, but there's no more control at the highest level than it comes to the arrangement of relationships. Now, they claim falsely that they don't arrange marriages. They do, because in the context of how this structure works, you can't get married unless you have the permission of your brethren. But when it comes to dating or even getting permission to court someone, they have so many rules about the process. And before they even get to a point where they would consider a courtship, they're supposed to ask their parents, even if they're an adult like Robyn. So she would have had to talk to Paul Sullivan, and then she would actually have to talk to a member of the priesthood council in her area. And they have to explain the experiences of, did you get a revelation from God? That's what Robyn calls a thunder, like that lightning bolt that she got. So that's her revelation from God that this is her person. And then they have to explain to them why. Like, why is it important that they move forward? And at that point, they can do one or two things. They can offer and give the blessing to move forward with that relationship, or they may want you to go back and speak with your parents of the person first before they'll return with an answer. So they might not say yes right away. If you haven't talked to the parents, like Kody's parents, or you can't go forward. There's a whole process if you're going to ask about a married man. So after receiving permission from a council member, you may approach the man and express your intentions, or you may have a council member or your father speak to him first. If the answer is yes, proceed to step 5. So she should not have even looked at him. She should not even spoken to him. She should have not even had any inclination to discuss anything with him because she didn't have permission. Like, that's how stringent this group is. This is directly from their standard bearer that they put out. Now, they have approved courting and unapproved courting. They have rules about whether or not and how to get to know each other. They're not supposed to go on any unchaperoned outings. They're not supposed to kiss. They're not supposed to touch. They're not supposed to do excessive like hand holding or talking on the phone or text or communication. They're not supposed to like make the whole thing about themselves. They have to be respectful of everyone involved. And this is what the men are told. Consider this, whatever you did or however you behaved with your current wife and wives while you were courting is what will be expected when you court a potential wife. If you are not respectful and you went beyond the bounds of the courtship, that is what may be imagined you are doing when you are alone in this new relationship. But if your relationship was respectful, then that is what will be anticipated with delight and fond remembrance as you are courting this new woman. So men are basically told to be respectful, don't get the women alone, don't do things like having sex, don't overtouch, remain temple ready, which Robyn and Kody did not do. He moved her before they were engaged there. They were kissing, which kisses are supposed to remain for over the altar. And women, you may do the asking first if it is just as correct and proper for you as a woman, young or old, to become interested in a man. You may have watched the way he conducts his life and treats his family and friends, and you desire to know if it is the will of the Lord that you should be in his family, or perhaps the Lord touched your heart, inspired you to consider him. Fast, pray, and follow the steps in asking. As you court, remember to maintain a standard that you would want your husband to hold himself to with his future sister wives. So Robyn was not respectful to the women because they were kissing and they were spending time alone and they were doing things that were outside of the rules, which is why Christine was so upset. So here is what McKelty said about this being improper. And then we'll go back to the rule.
So this story where they like went a little bit deeper into it about the actual moments that happened, I can understand why they didn't talk about that too much, because obviously she was single, he was married, had 3 other wives. It was inappropriate to longingly gaze at another woman and to have these feelings for another woman. It was inappropriate. So I can understand why they didn't, say the specifics about how they first like saw each other.
For the record, this account of what happened was told, but it was told in a different way in the book. Here is what Robyn wrote in the book. On Sunday, Reba and I went to church. While we were seated in the service, a man sitting in front of me with shaggy blonde hair caught my eye. The first thing I noticed about him was his eyes, which were ringed with laugh lines. I always love seeing laugh lines because they tell me that someone is happy. I watched him talk with the other members of the congregation. There was something peaceful and comforting about the way he conducted himself. He was smiling and laughing at ease with himself and others. All of a sudden, he looked up and our eyes met. I'm not exaggerating when I say I felt as though I'd been shot through with a bolt of lightning. When this happened, I was stunned, I was embarrassed, and I looked down at my feet. Immediately, I was furious that I had had any sort of response to the stranger. I was determined that no one should break through my hard exterior. And then she said, a month later, I visited Reba again. On the afternoon I was getting ready to leave, she had a group of friends over at her house. While I was standing on her front lawn, packing the kids into the car to head home, the same man I'd locked eyes with in church drove up in a white convertible. There was a woman riding in the passenger seat. The man stopped the car and started talking to my cousin. It was like a party exploded out of the car. He was so dynamic and full of energy. Reba introduced me to Kody Brown and his wife, Mary. So the way that Robyn describes it is that she saw him at church. She felt embarrassed that this happened, but then Kody drove by. And when the way that Kody describes it was that he was smitten with her when he saw her at church. And he said it was inappropriate how he was looking at her, maybe because he was ogling her and like being very disgusting in his lustful. These fundamentalist Mormons are repressed, but it's still inappropriate. And then the way it sounds now is that they didn't happen to just see each other. Like Kody had his eyes set on her. He was interested in her, drives by, sees her, and stops. It was like he was on the hunt for her, which is, again, inappropriate because he shouldn't be on the hunt for another wife. He shouldn't be on the hunt for anyone. Kody doesn't describe their first meeting in church at all. He doesn't say a word. He sort of takes it up after they met on the lawn. And then there was another meeting where they were at a dance, and they said, when the second to the last song of the night came on, Kody asked me to dance. I was shocked. I remember thinking that Mary must have taken pity on me and made her husband dance with me. I felt like a complete loser, but I let Kody have his pity dance, and I thought it was kind of Mary to send him over. When Kody and I started dancing, we were immediately at ease with each other. I felt relaxed around him. Kody was easy to talk to. Eventually, we stopped dancing and stood chatting in the middle of the dance floor. During the song and the next, we opened up to each other like it was the most natural thing in the world. I forgot about the dance, the hall, and all of the people around us. For 10 minutes, it felt like Kody and I were the only people in the world. So even their dance was inappropriate because they lingered too long. But Kody would like you to believe that this whole thing was Mary pushing him, because he said, after Mary and I met Robyn on the lawn of her cousin's house, Mary instantly sensed that there was something special about Robyn. I was nervous because Robyn was divorced, and a divorce can bring a lot of technical difficulties in terms of blending families and raising another man's children. I had always declared that I wouldn't invite this situation into my life, but the stirring I felt around Robyn changed this almost right away. So Kody ignores the fact that he was the one ogling her at church. He was the one making eyes at her, kind of like telling her, I like you. Hey, hubba hubba. He's the one that said hubba hubba. And he pushes it like Mary's the one that forced this, not telling Mary that he had locked eyes with her at church before and he had been already pre-planning this. And I have the belief here that this wasn't just accidental. I'm sure they talked at church. And he even acted like Mary forced him to dance with her. And he says, the minute Rob and I hit the dance floor, I became transfixed by her spirit. I couldn't deny the spark I felt, not the kind of spark you feel in your loins, but something deep and transcendent. I guess you could call it love at first sight. When we were talking after the dance, I went out of my way to avoid flirting with Robyn and focused most of my energy on talking to her sister. When Mary and I got home that night, we stayed up for 2 hours talking about Robyn. It was inappropriate. He was chasing her, and on the show, he made it seem like Mary was the one that chose Robyn. He lied. He didn't tell Mary that he was staring at her at church. He didn't tell Mary that he was literally obsessed with this woman that he saw. He just made Mary believe like it was her idea, even though it wasn't. It was his idea. He pursued her. She pursued him. Mary was not the one that was being the pursuer. She was just after the fact told that it was her that brought them together when they both lied. And the fact that Kody completely ignores the fact that he even saw her at church proves that he was trying to cover that relationship up. And because they've lied about this, I have no doubt that there's other stories that happened in this relationship before they actually met on that lawn that have been withheld from the audience. They were far too cozy and comfortable for a couple that just like accidentally met. Like Robyn was seeking him out, he was seeking her out, and it was done incredibly inappropriately. And because they didn't include the wives in this, and because they went outside of the wives and they did things in their courtship that were not allowed and disrespectful, that's why Christine had such a hard time with the courtship. That's why she said she felt like she lost her best friend, because Kody had adhered to standards within the church with her. She maintained all of the rules. She did everything the good girls in the church are supposed to do. And he couldn't return the favor for her and be respectful with Robyn. And it was because he was in lust. So you have a daughter saying this is inappropriate. And McKelty did a lot of, explaining away her dad and trying to defend her dad and, and defend Robyn. And now that there is a more clear picture about how this came to pass and how Kody is the one that's like, I saw her, it was inappropriate, I wanted her. He made it seem again like it was Mary's decision. It wasn't. It makes me believe this account I had received from a woman that interacted with him several seasons ago, I think season 5 or 6. And she met Kody and on set and he was flirting. She said he was flirting with her when the cameras stopped. Like the minute the cameras were off, he was flirting with her. He was definitely showing that he was interested in her. And the women were just sitting there and obviously not happy, but just were acting like, yeah, this is normal. This is what Kody does. And then on the show, they would say it's improper for a man to behave that way. Men can't go seek women out. Guys that do that at church are gross. There are definitely men in this church that pursue women and they're like out at dances and they're on the hunt for women. And Robyn even went as far as to say that there are married men that go to dances solely to be scoping women out. And she said that's not well respected at the church, but that's exactly how they got together. He was at a dance, scoping her out. Kody had no reason to go to a dance other than if he wanted to dance with another woman. There's no reason for a married man that's not seeking another woman to go to a dance at all. The dances are for socialization so that they can meet new people. He was there with an agenda. She knows that. He knows that. Everyone on the show, like, I'm sure most of the family knows that. But what makes me kind of pause and scratch my head is what else was happening in their relationship that we don't know about. Like, it seems odd that he would travel to St. George 4 hours and then sleep at someone else's house. I never got this sense that they were chaste, like Robyn said, because she lies about everything. I always got the sense that there was premarital relations happening. They seemed way too cozy. And then, it always just makes me wonder about those rumors that circulated a while ago about, Kody and Robyn being caught at church kissing, which wouldn't surprise me, quite honestly. That kind of stuff does happen at that church. The men are known to be sometimes very inappropriate, but I don't know if that's true. That was just a rumor put out a couple years ago. But it is inappropriate. It was disrespectful. It was deceptive to those involved. And this, I think, is so much why there was so much apprehension when she joined the family, because everyone saw what his intentions were from day one. And he didn't hide it to any of them off camera. On camera, he played the dutiful husband to all, but he was never. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, everyone.